everyone, it's Robin, Artist Island Crafts, and welcome to my studio. This is my Whip It Wednesday video where I'm going to show you the creative goodness that I've been working on this week. This is a 12.5 inch. As you can see, it's a scissors block. This is a pattern from Crafty Stacy. I'm going to put a link down below in the description box because I'm going to be sewing this on this Friday's live stream. So here on my YouTube channel, Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to go live and I'm going to sew at least one of these blocks. I do have several cut out. I have the purple, a blue, a yellow, and then the red. I really like any of the scissors blocks. I like the one where it's a little bit taller and they have it in the spool of thread. I made a mini quilt like that, but this one's a nice 12.5 inch block, so you can create it to turn into just about anything you want. You could make a bunch of them and put them together for a quilt. You could add other crafty things to it, like the thread spool. You could put, there's a rotary cutter, a quilt block. There's a lot of them. This block is actually part of, I think there's a block of the month. I'm not sure, but they're doing a variety of these. A block of the month, which just makes sense, right? So there are other bloggers that are part of this, and they're all making a whole bunch of different ones. So when you go to the page, I'll link you to the scissors page, but then you'll be able to also see a picture of the rest of the quilt blocks. I believe this is July's block, so it's an actual current block of the month that's going on. So if you wanted to join in, maybe you're not too far behind. I want to make 4 of them because I was thinking, I don't know, do I want to make it into a wall hanging or do I want to make that into a tote bag? I think a scissors would be fun on the front of a tote bag, and then maybe some, either one fabric, like a sewing related fabric, or just a whole bunch of scrappy fabric to match the handles. I think that would be really fun. I like how it has the darker gray with the lighter gray, and it actually has that little button, knob, screw, whatever in the center where it makes the scissors do their scissory thing. I was just very happy to be able to find fabrics that was a darker gray and a lighter gray. While I have a lot of gray randomly in my stash, I wasn't sure if I was going to have what I need. Now this is a free pattern. There is the opportunity to purchase the PDF if you want to just have a PDF and skip all of the ads and extra pictures and stuff that are on blogs nowadays. But if you scroll down and you see that it's for $4, just keep on scrolling. The measurements and everything will be down below that. Just to give you a heads up, these squares are 3.5 inches, so you just need to make sure you have fabric that is going to fit into that. I cut my colors from fat quarters, and I had yardage for my grays and my whites. So that worked out really great. I really love the way this has turned out. It's a really simple pattern. It did take me a bit of time to make because there are a lot of little steps, a lot of stitch and flips. So if you're not really into like snowball corners and stitch and flips and stuff like that, then maybe this specific block is not the one for you. And if you don't want to make the scissors, you can easily just take the top part, put the white fabric here in the snowball corners and not the gray, and then you can have just a fun design like that, and that again would work for pillows, tote bags, table runners, or quilts. You could use charm squares, so then you're not looking for like one thing to match for the scissors. You can do a whole bunch of charm squares, and I think that would be really sweet for a baby quilt or even for anyone else. It depends on what fabric you use. I just popped into my head it would be a nice, really fun dog blanket. So if you want to have a little quilt for your pet, that's a great project. And because we're doing purple, of course, it just seemed to be the week of purple for me. I finished the scrappy purple zipper pouch using the Polaroid picture there, the Polaroid quilt block, so to speak. I added the little pink back here thinking because it would go into pink here, but it's on the back. But it's okay. It just adds a little bit of something to the back of it. I have some scraps of birdhouse fabric that someone shared with me, so I thought that worked really well in there. Now right here, I added this little fun strip of hearts. It's from a Valentine fat quarter that I had. When I was sewing this, it was a scrap, and I saw like a little bit of a fuzzy there, right? So I thought I'll just pick the thread out. It's probably just stuck to the fabric. But when I looked, it was actually a frayed hole right there. So what I did is I made sure there was a bunch of quilting, and to keep the integrity of the pouch so there wouldn't be any problems, I took this little bit of scrap heart from the Valentine fabric. I heat and bond it, and then you can see I just did some accent of the zigzag that's on my sewing machine to make sure it's stitched down. I also did a straight line all the way around, is what I started with, and decided I did not like the look, so then I went ahead and did that. I was thinking, sometimes with patches, they do it where they stitch past it. So I have that little bit of a design there where you can see some of the stitches past it. But again, I didn't really care for it. Not that I disliked it because I left it in. So I just went ahead and zigzagged over it and it worked out fine. Nice purple tassel. And then the white swirl fabric. Now, if you ever purchase one of my pouches and you really don't care for the tassel or you'd like to replace it with something else, this is just held on by the little jump ring. So it has the little split, or I should say a split ring, whatever they're called. But there's a little split right there, and I can easily pull this apart with my fingers, or you can use pliers and then just pop this off, use it somewhere else, or just toss it and put whatever else you'd like on there. So thank you guys for all the suggestions on where I can get my labels. I want to have ones that are sewn on kind of like this. So I'd like to get a little RS Island Crafts with or without a little flamingo. I haven't 100% decided because RS Island Crafts would be this size and then a flamingo would make it wider. And I don't want my tag to be like, woo, tag. I want it to be like, oh, nice zipper pouch. Oh, there's the tag. Look who made it. And something like that. So I'm still torn whether I'm going to order them. I did find one company that I enjoyed, and then there's a couple more on Etsy that'll work too, but I think I might just go ahead and try printing them myself. That way I can have everything I want, because I want to be able to print it on fabric that already has the fusible heat and bond on it, because I find it much easier to put the label on in the right spot and have it to be level if it has the heat and bond on it already. It just makes it a lot easier when you're doing the process. One more purple thing. I finished a dishcloth. This is the ones with the scrubby in it. I was at Michael's a little bit ago and I was looking for more of this yarn and I didn't see it there, so I'm either gonna have to check Joann's. You know what? I didn't even check Hobby Lobby while I was there. That is totally weird. But I'll have to check. I'll have to go to Hobby Lobby again, right? Just to see if they have it. And otherwise, I'll look online. Because I really like the bit of scrubby in there. But I do have some yarn, the cotton yarn that I'm going to make that is just cotton. Because not everyone wants to have a scrubby cloth. Here's something that is not purple. I don't think there's any purple in it anywhere. This is a little Friendship Star mini that I worked on with my patrons. We are still on our mug rug and mini quilt and small project kick. I had this sweet charm pack from Penny Rose Fabrics, The Perfect Party by Lindsay Wilkes of the Cottage Mama. This is a Riley Blake design from 2019, Penny Rose Fabrics. And I thought it was just the sweetest fabric. And I thought it would be perfect for this little cute mini. And even the charms that were here on the back are all from that pack. So you could see here's the little bunny that's doing the painting of a donkey that I cut out for my centerpiece. This little mini has a very subtle look to it. I wanted something that felt delicate, but it still has a lot of movement in there. It still feels to me along the lines of the 30s fabrics, to something that with the birds and stuff, these type of birds, it just reminds me of a time in the past, and I thought it was just really sweet. I put white binding on it, and the more I look at it, I wish I'd have had a very pale pink to put on it. I didn't want to use this pink or something like that for the binding. Even something like this fabric that has a bunch of pink in it would have probably worked, but I didn't want to have all of those seams constantly going around every 5 inches, give or take. So I went with the white, and I still think it's very delicate and very pretty looking. So this can be hung up on a craft room wall, in a baby room, maybe somewhere where I've seen the different closets now where they have like dressing areas. It's becoming very popular to have it in your closet, or a little makeup area that is separate from the bathroom vanity and all of that. I just picture that in one of those types of places. I don't think I showed you the socks that I made for my son Robbie for Christmas. These are a worsted weight sock. So he normally would have the really thin ones, but now this time it's thicker because he just wears them around the house. He doesn't wear them like in shoes or anything. But if we ever make it to Arizona and it gets cold enough in the winter to go hiking, you could always wear these. But he says he just prefers to have the wool socks just not barefooted, but you know, with no shoes on. He prefers it that way. He doesn't like to have wool socks in his shoes. So these are all finished. I just need to weave in the ends and take up all of the markers, because when I'm knitting, instead of trying to figure out by inches, I have a ruler that lets me know how long to make the foot and such, but I just do it by rows or rounds. So I put it every 10 so that when I go ahead and I make the second one, then I'll know to match it. Now these I actually knit two at the same time. So on one needle I had both of these socks going at the same time using two separate balls of yarn. And while I'm not thrilled with that process, it doesn't always excite me to do it. I do like the fact that I have the two socks done, and I had them done before August, so that was great. Now, if that wasn't enough cutting for the scissors, I also went ahead and I did some cutting of green scraps. I pulled out two of my Ziploc baggies of the larger green scraps, and I have these all cut out to make 3 cactuses in a table runner. I've had a request for a table runner, so I think I'm going to do it with the Saguro, you know, the Saguro, I don't know how to say it, cactus. It's the one where you have that big piece of cactus and it has the arms that kind of go off. It's just like that mini that I made not too long ago. So I'm actually using this pattern. This one used 1.5 inch squares. I went ahead and I bumped it up to 2 inch squares just to make it a little bit larger. I don't want it to overtake the dining room table. The person that requested it is going to be purchasing a really nice dining room table. She's very particular about the style of wood, the type of wood, and the color wood. So she wants to have the table runner in the center to put either a vase on it or a bowl with some rocks or shells or whatever she wants to do. She wants to have that accent in the center. Oh, a candle, that's what I was thinking, a candle in the center, which would be really pretty. But she doesn't want to cover up the wood. So like I have all of my wood on my table up here covered with the cutting mat and the sewing machine and all, because it's just a basic dining room table. She wants hers so that she can actually see the wood still. So I have all of that to cut out for 3 cactuses. So there will be one on each end like this, and I'll put the one in the center upside down, maybe. As I'm talking to you, which is, you guys are always a great sounding board, I think I might just put all 3 just right in a row, and then the center one's going to get covered anyway, and then this way they'll all be in a row and they won't look awkward. So she wants to put it maybe on a, like the couch tables, the little table that you put behind the couch to just set your keys down, or a little table when you walk into the house, and that way they'll all be lined up and you won't have that one awkward one that's upside down. Perfect idea. You guys are great. Thank you so much. I could feel all of your energy. Now I'm sure there's some of you are saying, no, Robin, put the one in the center upside down. I might. I very much work on a whim, and as I'm working on a project, I might decide, maybe I'll do that. I'm not going to be putting any of the brown or anything down below. It's just going to have, well, if I'm going to have them all in a row, I'll have to see what it looks like, but I'm thinking they're just going to come right down to the binding and let them sit there. What I need to do is I need to figure out these measurements, and instead of sitting there and trying to do the math, I'm just going to go ahead and sew these 3 together and then measure it. And I'll know it needs to be at least 2 inches wide by this measurement. Because what if I just don't sew it right and my perfect 1/4 inch isn't nearly perfect enough? And then I know like this one here is a 2 inch square, so I'm just going to need that to be a little bit larger. And then I could figure out all of these after it's all done, because I already know what the measurements are. And now that I see how it all goes together, I can just go ahead and change it. Just like I've changed where the stitch and flips, I changed those numbers a little bit too. But I found a nice mixture of green scraps. So my question for you today, your scrappy word of the day, is going to be color. What color is your favorite? Do you have a color that you don't usually work with, or a color that you will never work with? Now I like green. I like certain greens. I'm not a fan of the darker greens, the swampy greens, but I do know that they all have a use, and when they all go together, it works out really well. I like what I say is like Crayola green, and I seem to prefer the green-yellow version. So I like the grass green, I like the greens and yellows. I don't normally work with browns, but I've been branching out and trying to use the creams and browns and tans a little bit more often. Purple has always been my go-to favorite, but I do like a little bit of pink. Basically, I love the rainbow. I like the basic box of Crayola crayons, but I also like to branch off and get some of the wilder and crazier colors. It's been a long time since I've had a box of 64 crayons, but that used to be one of my favorite gifts to get. A coloring book or some graph paper and a box of crayons or colored pencils, and I was happy as can be. I was 100% a light bright kid growing up. I loved to just play with the light bright. It didn't need to have any patterns on it. I didn't need to always follow the pictures. I just liked to be able to design something myself and to turn the lights out and see it glow. So maybe that's where my crazy quilting has come from. It's always been a part of me to just throw color down and see what happens. So no matter what colors you're working with this week, I hope you have a fun and creative, crafty week. For all of you that have children going back to school, take a moment, relax before you get back into the craziness of the school year. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I will see you guys on the live stream on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, where we are going to sew a scissor block. Now, if you'd like, you can choose which color we're going to sew. You can let me know down below in a choice of color if you'd like. Maybe you want to do red or yellow or blue. Maybe I'll see if I can put a poll up in the community tab and you guys can decide which color scissors we're going to make. Now I'm going to make them. I'm going to make all 4 of them by the time I'm done, but sometimes it's fun to let someone else choose your next color. Now, if you were to say, Robin, what color would you choose? I don't know what color I would choose to sew. I would want to see which one's probably going to look best on a video, but I really like this blue fabric. I have a couple of these that were in a fat quarter bundle, I believe. Yes, a fat quarter bundle, and I really like all the darker lines all over it. I mean, it's not plaid, right? I don't know what it is, but I like that wonky griddedness to it, so I like that color. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.